Tell me about the good old days.
The shopping malls. Now, usually if you go to a mall now, it's a very depressing sight. At least they are in my area. Like, there's nothing around. The food court is looking deserted. It's like there are like four restaurants in there. But back in the day, especially in the '80s, the shopping mall was a big deal. Okay, this is where you went to get cool stuff, eat interesting food, and if there's a movie theater, you go to the movies next to it. There was always a big fountain in the middle of it. Remember? Okay.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, I mean, it's funny because you just mentioned Stranger Things, and Stranger Things set their whole second season in a mall like that.
I remember,
and
that.
that was specifically for the nostalgic element. And I'll tell you what, that was a very smart thing to do because it was a place where everybody could come, hang out, sit in the food court, go to the teeny bopper stores and buy your gel bracelets and your whatever.
Well, people typically now they think of Hot Topic, but when I was growing up, it was Spencer's Gifts. Remember
Spencer's Gifts? Oh, I absolutely do. Yeah.
That was where they had all the weird stuff. Like you get whoopee cushions. You could get the stick of gum that would make the person like the teeth turn black. That sort of thing. And you would like to buy this stuff to try and play pranks on your friends.
Yeah, all kinds of novelties, but they also had the dark horror stuff and the adult room in the back too.
Yeah, and there was adult novelty stuff there too, which I had to stay away from. And there was an adult room like with certain videotapes or other paraphernalia,
videos and toys and stuff
goodness.
For an older audience. Yes, absolutely. You also had oftentimes you had a multiplex there, so you could see your films. And that was great. You go to the food court, have your food, then you go see your movie, come back to the food court and go to like get ice cream or a pretzel and sit and talk about the movie that you just saw.
Yeah.
Again, very social. Oftentimes there was an arcade there. What do you call it? The laser tag or battle tag.
Laser tag. Oh yeah. Yeah, there were the two there was what's the competitor called again?
Photon.
Photon. I had a photon set. I didn't have a laser tag. Oh, that's a whole nother thing. Okay, but you know what else I remembered though? We had two malls in New Jersey when I was growing up. There was the common one I went to, which was the Woodward Center Mall.
Mm-hmm.
The Woodward Center Mall, at least at the time, I do not recall it having a food court. Did not have a food court.
Huh.
There were little, how like you have shops in those outlets. You also had restaurants, like little restaurants. One of them was like a fast food Chinese type place, and the other one, which you would always go to, was Chick-fil-A. Or Chick-fil-A had these restaurants all on the sides of the roads. They were a mall outlet chain. Okay.
Yeah.
And you would go there. They had the sandwich. They had the chicken nuggets. They had which are actually good chicken nuggets. They're not like the stuff you get other places.
Yeah.
Like their actual meat. But anyway, okay. But what else? And you'd go there, you go to Chick-fil-A, you get the waffle fries, so that was a treat. And I would like to go to a store called the Game Room. And the Game Room was did they have them in your area?
Yes.
And what did the Game Room sell? Let's see if you know.
Well, the ones that were by me, not only did they have things like board games and chess and all that kind of stuff, they had the role-playing games, and they had all that kind of stuff, too. Mm-hmm. The miniatures and the dice. It was the
tabletop store.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you had them in your area too.
Mm-hmm.
You'd go in there,
and you know what we missed? And I'm so glad that was it Auditor Dredd? I got to look back at the comments. Yeah, Auditor Dredd brought it up too. He mentioned KB Toys. Remember that?
Oh,
KB Toys was, and I didn't even realize it at the time because I wasn't clicked into the business model. They were like a second-run toy store. So what happened is you would have your toys released in the big toy stores like Toys R Us and, your department stores and whatnot. And after they'd cycle through, then they would go to KB Toys at a bit of a markdown. And I got a lot of my toys, and I'm talking like Star Wars action figures at KB Toys, right? And across from KB Toys at our mall was the bookstores. It was either Barnes and Nobles or what was the other one? What was the other bookstore besides Barnes and Nobles?
Walden Books.
Walden Books, that's it. My mother knew if I wandered off and she couldn't find me, then she'd just go finish doing her shopping. And when she was done, she would go to KB Toys. And if she didn't find me in KB Toys, she'd go across to Walden Books. It was one of those two places was where she was going to find me.
One or the other. And I remember KB Toys, I think I got, do you remember a toy series called Rocks and Bugs and Things?
I saw it, but I don't know anything about it.
See, because you're making sense what you said about Second Run, because I think I couldn't find these, and then I found a bunch of that KB. And when you're a kid, you don't realize things have gotten discontinued, okay?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And Rocks and Bugs and Things were funny because they were either you got these bugs, these giant bugs, and you press a button and like the mouth would open up, and they came with these little goblin type things that they would eat.
Mm-hmm.
And the rocks, you would press a button and the rock would open up and would throw the guy inside. It was like these monsters you had that you could eat these little people.
Okay.
I really enjoyed those, and we're getting those at KB Toys. I also remember Electronics Boutique and Babbage's and Software Etc. Remember those?
Yeah.
Oh, those were where you went for your computer games, but they were really like we're a sophisticated computer store, right?
Now, what we're really talking about here, though, Aged Boomer, is like 80s era malls.
Yes.
Really, I'm a little bit older than you, and I remember 70s style malls.
Oh, tell me about it.
So
what is that?
in Hillside here in the Chicago area, there was the Hillside Mall. It was kind of smaller than the big malls. The theater was actually a separate building, so there was the Hillside Twin Theater was a separate standalone cinema, but next to it was a mall that was anchored at one side by Carson Peary Scott and on the other side by Zare. You remember Zare? Anyone in the chat remember Zare? It was kind of like the closest thing I could compare it to would be like Target today, kind of, or not even like Walmart, because it didn't really carry. It didn't have like groceries or any of that kind of stuff. It was just it was the opposite of Carson Peary Scott. And it didn't exactly have a food court because there was nowhere to sit down with your food, but there were food places in one like arm of the mall, and they had Garrett Popcorn. Those of you that know the Chicago area know Garrett Popcorn.
What is Garrett Popcorn?
Garrett's Popcorn is like gourmet popcorn. Okay, so your buttered popcorn and your cheese popcorn was like nothing you have ever had, okay? It was better than movie theater popcorn. It was better than anything you could ever get, at a carnival or in a bag. Oh, yeah. It's still around. Garrett's is all over Chicago, but it's just not in, the suburbs anymore. They had what do you call it? The caramel corn. It was the only caramel corn that I really liked. It was, and I still didn't like it as much as the cheese and the buttered popcorn, but it was
really good.
The cheese popcorn. Okay, when you think cheese popcorn, you think, yeah, right. It would stain your fingers, and it was a little bit kind of oily, but kind of like cheese, not like the powdered stuff that you get.
You get it from a bag in the store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the holidays, you could get like the three, the tin that had the butter.
It comes with all three. Yeah.
Sure, but nothing like anything you've probably ever had. It was very, very different. Kind of expensive, but really, really good. So they had that there. They had a hot dog stand that had hot dogs. Chicago-style hot dogs that nobody else made them like that. When they went out of business, that mall pretty much went out of business. I was devastated because no one had hot dogs like that. So I said Zara on one side, Carson Pirie Scott on the other side. And in the middle of the mall was Woolworth. You ever heard of Woolworth?
I've heard of Woolworth.
Yeah,
yes, but I don't know if I've ever been in one.
Woolworth with the lunch counter there.
My mom would tell me about it. Yeah, she told me.
My
about
grandmother
it.
used to take me on Wednesdays to Woolworth. We would have a bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich for
that
lunch.
sounds nice.
And then she would give me some quarters to go play Space Invaders.
Was there an actual arcade that had Space Invaders?
No. It was just a Space Invaders game in the Woolworth.
In the Woolworths, okay.
Yep.
Well, I have a question. This Space Invaders game, was it the black and white? Was it the cellophane? Was it the color? There were different versions of it.
I'm trying to
You may not remember. It's been so long, yeah. But
I can't remember. It was definitely the old,
yeah.
DOS screen type of thing, but I can't remember if it was black and white or color or not. I think it might have been black and white, to be honest.
Probably the original machine.
It was the doot, and you
I
had
love
the
that.
buttons.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have a Space Invaders game for the Super Nintendo, and it's anniversary, and it replicates all of the different Space Invaders. Like, it has the black and white, the color, the weird cellophane where, like, they would come down through colors that were, like, on top of the monitor.
Yeah.
So it, like,
every time I saw that version, I thought that there was something wrong with the screen, like the color was messed up or something. It didn't make sense.
Well, it kind of was, because it was supposed to simulate color, even though the graphics weren't colored. Do you understand?
Yeah, that's like, if it's all going to be one color, just keep it all one color. Don't,
I know.
That's kind of like the old black and white TVs, and they'd give you a green gel to put in front of it. Oh, great. Now it's black and green instead of black and white. Yay.
What was the department store that sold candy? Wasn't there a department store that sold candy inside it in the mall? Was it Sears?
There was at some of the malls that I went to in the 80s, there were these like bulk stores where you could go in and you can get all the different kinds of candies. You can get the chocolate covered peanuts, chocolate covered raisins, even things like
nonpareils,
Skittles and nonpareils and stuff. And you'd scoop them up, put them into a bag, and you'd buy them by weight. But they also had not just candy, they also had like pastas and flour and things like that too.
Oh.
Yeah, and we'd look at the pasta and Grandma was like, I don't know, because she got all of her pasta from the Italian store. So I'm like, that's fine. Just give me some candy. Okay. She'd get me some nonpareils. She'd get herself chocolate covered peanuts. She'd get my mom chocolate raisins, and then we'd like share, in the evening.
When for you did you notice the mall was starting to go bye-bye? Was it in the 90s? Was it not the same?
I'd say it was in the 90s because Nanette and I got married in 92. And just on a lark, I said, I'd like to take you back to the mall that I used to, take dates to when I was in high school and stuff like that and hang out with the guys and stuff. And I noticed that it just wasn't as crowded as it used to be. And a lot of things had changed. And then I heard it closed up. And then we drove by the Hillside one that I was telling you about, and they turned it into a big CarMax. And the movie theater became for a while it became a church, some evangelical
Right.
church moved in there,
Right.
and now it's something else again. I think maybe it's a bank.
It's weird because I've heard of some churches turning into other buildings, and now we see other buildings that weren't churches turning into churches. That's interesting.
Yeah,